Yes, and there is from all the way, but not too far, just across the water. Joanna, Jetty, Lori, too far, just across the water. I'm grateful. I'm appreciative to have you both here to discuss ecosystem restoration, just across the conversations in the first 2 episodes of understanding what is conversation restoration first, and understanding our involvement in it, of understanding what our involvement in today. But first off, what have what's something that's made you smile about in the past couple since we've last seen each other? What's something that's made you smile? And our involvement, something that's made you smile.
Wow. Well, when I was in Miami,
since we've last seen each other, what's something that's just made you smile? It could be anything.
Iguanas running around.
Wow. Well, when I was in Miami,
birds like in the
since
park
we've last seen
in
each
front
other,
of
what's
us, and
something
you
that's
never
just made
see
you
those
smile?
in
It could be
North
anything.
Carolina, and they were just out in the wild.
Wow. Well, when I was in
around
Miami,
and
zipping
birds,
around,
like
and so
Since we've last seen each other, what's something
I
that's
guess
just
it
made
just
you
makes
smile?
you
It could be
realize, even just within the borders of the U.S., there's a lot of different wildlife. You know, there's a lot of different flora and fauna zipping around.
Since we've last seen each other, what's something that's just made you smile? It could be
Joanna, even just within
altogether. So
there's a lot of
it's just it's kind of fun just to
around and
see something
Since
different.
we've last seen each other, what's something that's just made you smile? It could be
Nice. Yeah, mine's I guess very similar.
There's a lot
Because I was in Scotland 2 weeks ago for a week, and yeah, we had like a lovely Airbnb in the middle of nowhere, and the owner had like lots of little bird feeders around. So we'd wake up and see the birds feeding in front of our window, and then we had a lovely garden with. Oh, it was just really lovely, and yeah, I loved that.
wow. So it just made me think
And the
real quick,
owner
Lori.
feeders
The
around.
iguanas.
See the birds
So are you
feeding,
familiar
and then we
with
had a lovely
iguanas
garden,
falling
really
out
lovely,
of
and
falling out of the trees in Florida?
Oh, no, I didn't see that happen, but I can imagine it because they were everywhere in the area
and then
where
we
we
had a
were.
lovely
They were
garden,
everywhere.
really lovely,
And at one point we couldn't
Wow.
get back into our
In
building
Florida.
because there was an iguana who
See
had
that happen?
because
Crawled
they
up on
were
the door.
everywhere.
and
Like
then
he
we
was
had a lovely
looking in to
garden, really
see
lovely,
where
and
what the people were
Wow.
doing.
In Florida.
So
Aw.
see that happen?
It was pretty
Because
funny.
They were
It was
everywhere.
more
and
like
then we had a
we were
lovely
on
garden,
his
really
turf.
lovely,
What are
and
you people doing?
Wow. In Florida.
And somebody told me
See
this
that
morning
happen?
though, because they were
Iguanas-
everywhere.
Now, this
and
could
then
be
we had a
rumor,
lovely
but
garden,
iguanas
really
are
lovely,
not
and
native to South
Wow.
Florida.
In Florida.
That people have brought them
See
in
that happen?
as because they were everywhere. And then
and
they
then we
just
had a lovely
multiplied.
garden, really
That's fact.
lovely, and
That's facts. Wow. And that's why. That's why. So
See that
it's just
happen?
fun.
Because
I
they
was
were
learning
everywhere.
about
and then we had a
iguanas
lovely
and
garden, really lovely,
and them falling
um,
out of the trees. Wow. Because in Florida, they during the
See
during the
that
when it
happen?
starts to
Because
become
they were
warmer,
everywhere.
and then
they
we had a lovely garden, really
they
lovely,
start to thaw out
and
essentially. Wow.
Florida.
So
Oh,
when
okay.
in the
See
tree,
that
right? They
happen?
then
Because
if
they
you
were
just go
everywhere.
online,
and
if
then
you
we had a
listen to
lovely
this, watch this,
garden,
just
really
go
lovely,
online and
and
search iguanas falling out of the wow. trees. It's the almost it's the weird. It is
that
it is
happen?
the
Because they were
oh,
everywhere.
and then we had
yeah.
a lovely
It's so,
garden, really lovely, and
Right. It's like
wow.
we
In
we're
Florida,
not in charge here. You know,
See that
we
we're
think
not.
because
Yeah,
they
we
were
think
everywhere.
we're in
and
charge
then we had a
of
lovely
this
garden,
place,
really
but there's
lovely,
all
and
kinds of things going on.
Wow.
Okay.
In Florida.
Can I have a
See
quick
that
segue
happen?
on that?
Sure.
Because they were everywhere.
and then
So,
we
you
had a
know,
lovely garden,
most of
really
us have gone to
lovely,
the
and
beach growing up.
Wow.
Spent
In
time on
Florda.
the ocean, at least put your feet
See
in.
that happen?
So when I finally
Because
learned
they
to
were
scuba
everywhere.
dive,
and then we had a lovely
it was
garden,
this
really lovely,
revelation
and
that my whole life
Wow.
I
In
had just
Florida.
been on the surface
See that
of
happen?
the ocean
Because
because
there's
they were
so
everywhere.
much
and then we had a
going
lovely
on
garden,
down
really
below.
lovely, and
And it was just
Wow.
sort of
In
fascinating to
Florida.
think this has been here all
See
along.
that happen?
Because
And
they
we
were
think we know what the
everywhere.
and then
ocean
we had a
is,
lovely
and there's an
garden, really
entire
lovely,
other
and
ecosystem
Wow. In
world.
Florida.
And you know, when you're
See
scuba
that
diving,
happen?
you're really the
Because they were
interloper.
everywhere.
You're in
and then
their
we had a
world.
lovely garden, really lovely,
And so I just loved
Wow.
that
In Florida.
realization that gosh,
See
it
that
just seemed like a
happen?
metaphor
Because
for
they were
life.
everywhere.
and
There's
then we
so
had a
much
lovely
more under
garden,
the
really
surface
lovely,
than
and
you realize.
Wow.
And
In Florida. That's true.
See
yeah, I
that
loved
happen?
that because they were
That's true.
everywhere.
and then we had a lovely garden, really lovely, and
Are you a big? Wow. Are you in Florida? To trans off?
See that
Just
happen?
we'll get
Because they
flowing
were
here.
everywhere.
and
All
then
right,
we had a
Joanna,
lovely
where
garden,
you are
really
you a
lovely,
big
and
beach goer? Wow. Your area in Florida.
See that happen?
There's not, I
Because they were
mean,
everywhere.
and then we had a lovely garden, really lovely.
There's a
and,
few beaches kind of
Wow,
in my
in Florida.
area, but they're
Right.
cobbly.
See that
So
happen?
I'm not a
Because
beach
they were
goer
everywhere.
here.
And then we
I
had a
love
lovely
going on the
garden,
beach
really
on holiday
lovely,
where
and,
it's hot and sandy
Wow,
and all of
in
that.
Florida.
UK, I know
See
there
that
is nice
happen?
ones, but
Because
they're
they
not
were
that close to
everywhere.
and then
London,
we
I
had a
don't
lovely
think.
garden,
Okay,
really lovely, and
That's what I
Wow.
was thinking.
In
Like,
Florida.
wow, you know,
See
that's
that
the
happen
beautiful part about
because they were
geography and
everywhere.
And
thinking
then we
about
had a
the
lovely
earth,
garden,
air that
really
we
lovely.
breathe
And
is, and that's why I
Wow.
love North Carolina
Florida.
so much, is that North Carolina
See that
really
happen because
is,
they were
you
everywhere.
get a
and then we had
mixture
a lovely
of what
garden, really lovely.
of
And
everything. You get the beach, the
Wow.
mountains,
Florida.
the
See that
hills.
happen
Yeah, the
because they
inland
were
areas,
everywhere.
and
Right,
then we had a
right.
lovely
So it's
garden, really
interesting to
lovely.
hear
And
yourself say, no,
Wow.
you know, you're
Florida.
kind of, you're
See
really,
that happen because
you know,
they were everywhere.
and then
inland.
we had a lovely
And
garden,
actually,
really
Yeah,
lovely. And
city.
Wow.
the climate
Florida.
issues are quite different. See that
in all
happen
those different
because they were everywhere.
and then we
Right.
had a lovely garden, really lovely.
You
And
know, inland,
Wow.
you know, usually
Florida.
think about the climate issues mostly
See
on the
that happen
coast,
different
but
geographies.
you know, in the
Right.
mountain areas,
So,
you have
yeah.
you know, inland.
storms
You know,
and
usually
ice.
think about the climate.
See
And in
that
the inland
happen
areas
because
have a
different
lot of inland
geographies.
flooding.
Right.
So you know,
Mm,
each
yeah.
area
Inland,
has its own. You know, usually think
in
about the
inland
climate.
areas,
See
depending
that
on
happen
where
those
in
different
the
geographies might also have a lot of issues with wind.
Yeah.
You know, just a
inland,
lot of windstorms
usually
and
think
drought
about the climate.
and things like that.
See that
So,
happen those different
Mm.
geographies.
Right.
Yeah, it's
So,
yeah, it's
you know, inland,
fascinating how
you know,
big your
usually think
country
about the
is
climate.
and how
See that
yeah,
happen
the
those
different
geographies.
landscapes.
Right.
Mm.
Right.
So,
Because, you know,
yeah.
here,
inland, you know,
driving through a
usually
state
think about the
or
climate.
driving
See
through
that
one
happen
state is
those
driving through
different
several
geographies.
there. Right.
So,
So, it's
you know,
definitely
inland,
we all
you know,
get to
usually
share
think
and get
about
to
the climate.
experience and
See
learn
that
about
happen
how
those
does
different geographies.
where we
Right.
are, how does that
Mm.
impact the
So,
air that we
yeah.
breathe? So
inland, you know,
with this
usually think
episode
about the
of what
climate.
we've been
See
going
that
over is
happen
one,
those different
understanding what
geographies.
ecosystem restoration
Mm.
So,
is,
you know,
Yeah.
inland,
understanding the
you know, usually
impacts
think about the
that
climate.
we're
See
having
that
on our
happen
lands and
different
understanding the impacts that we're
geographies.
having on our environment.
Mm.
So,
Now
you
coming
know,
to
inland,
see
you know,
our
usually think
own,
about the climate.
you know,
See
putting
that
our money
happen
where our
those
mouth is,
different
you know, is to say,
geographies.
what is something that we can
Mm.
show that we can do in
yeah.
our own
Inland,
lives
you know,
that
usually
can,
think
that
about the
others
climate.
can see, that can be
happen
inspired
those
by,
different
whether it's a small
geographies.
project, big project,
Mm.
however,
So,
what's
yeah.
just something that
inland,
we can, and
you know,
we're going to speak
usually
on
think about the
something that we
climate.
can do in
See
our
that
own
happen
personal life to
those
inspire
different
others.
geographies.
So that's the theme of this episode
So,
today,
you
Yeah.
know,
and
inland,
it's going to
you know,
revolve
usually
around. If you see
think
me
about
look
the
over, I'm
climate.
just looking at
See
my
that
notes.
happen those
But
different
I want to start
geographies.
asking you, and
So,
I'll
yeah.
explain my
inland,
project,
you know,
because my
usually think
project,
about the climate.
this was
See
something I
that
didn't
happen
plan.
those
I
different
actually
geographies.
didn't plan for it,
Mm.
So,
and then it just
you
came.
know,
I said, oh, "This is
inland,
perfect."
you
So
know,
let me
usually
ask you
think
first,
about the
Lori.
climate. See
We're
that happen those different
we're talking about
geographies.
some examples of individual
So,
actions that we
you
can
know,
take place as
inland,
far as
you know,
management,
usually
whether
think
it's,
about
you
the
know, we talk
climate.
about
See that
rainwater
happen those
harvesting,
different
waste
geographies.
segregation,
Mm.
So,
recycling,
you know,
things
inland,
just
you
planting
know,
trees.
usually
You know,
think about the
you
climate. See that
heavily
happen
about that.
those different
Where in your
geographies.
living space, you know, do
Mm.
So,
you see a
you know,
project that
inland,
you could, that
you know,
you have,
usually think about the climate.
are
See that
taking
happen
on,
those
minor,
different
major, that
geographies.
you can explain, you can express
So,
and inspire
you know,
others with?
inland,
Yeah.
you know, usually
Well,
think
you
about
know,
the climate.
just to
See
prepare
that
for
happen
today,
those different
I dug out
geographies.
something I wrote
Right.
about 3 years
Mm.
ago.
So,
I was
yeah.
in Costa
Inland,
Rica.
you know, usually
And I was
think
really
about the climate.
inspired.
See
You know,
that
there's
happen
botanical
those
gardens
different
and just a ton of
geographies.
gorgeous
Right.
nature.
Mm.
And I thought, well, what am I
yeah.
doing?
Inland,
You know, what
you know,
am I
usually
doing?
think about the climate.
To
See that
contribute
happen
to this.
those
So I
different
wrote
geographies.
my commitment
Right.
to
Mm.
sustainability,
So,
my
yeah.
personal
Inland,
commitment to
usually think about the
sustainability.
climate. See
And
that
it actually
happen
has
those different
15 items on
geographies.
it.
Wow.
And
Mm.
it was
So,
interesting.
yeah.
You know, I'm involved
Inland,
in
you
environment.
know, usually think about the climate. See that
but
happen
it
those
was just sort of
different
interesting. If you
geographies.
write it down,
Right.
you can
Mm.
think about
So,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of
inland,
things that you're
you know,
doing.
usually think about the climate.
So
See
I'll
that
just
happen
start with a
those
couple
different
of them that
geographies.
anybody can
Right.
do. One,
So,
and I'm just going to go in
yeah.
the order that I
Inland,
wrote it at the
you know,
time. This was
usually
back in
think about the
2018,
climate.
in
See that
October
happen those different
2018.
geographies.
One,
Right.
reduce energy
Mm.
usage
So,
with LED
yeah.
light bulbs.
Inland, you know, usually
And you
think
know,
about
LED
the
light
climate.
bulbs have
See
been
that
around
happen those
for a long
different
time. And you hear a lot about them.
Right.
But at some point,
So,
I just
yeah.
you know,
bit
inland,
the bullet.
you know,
I
usually
replaced
think
every
about the
light bulb
climate.
in my
See that
house.
happen those
And my
different
energy bill
geographies.
went down.
Right.
Mm.
So,
I
Yeah.
thought, wow.
Inland,
I mean,
you know, usually
it
think
really,
about
it
the
showed
climate.
up on my
See
energy
that
bill.
happen
You're
those
replacing
different
all. You know,
geographies.
maybe there's just a lot of light bulbs.
Mm.
So,
But you know, also
yeah.
that's just a
Inland,
simple thing that
you
you
know,
can do.
usually
It doesn't
think
cost
about the
a lot of
climate.
money.
See that
and,
happen those different
it's just
geographies. it's been out there for a while. So,
Second,
inland, I usually think about the climate by closing my shutters and curtains. fans
Right.
and
Mm.
installing
Yeah.
a ceiling
Inland,
fan. Usually think about the
And
climate.
also
See that
the-
happen
those
when I finally
different
did that in the
geographies.
summer. I'm in the
Right.
south.
Mm.
There's a lot of
So,
sun.
Yeah.
Inland,
It showed up in my
usually
energy
think about the
bill.
climate. See
And
that
so not
happen,
only
but
was
those
saving
different money, the
geographies.
fact that it showed up in my
Right.
energy
Mm.
bill
So,
demonstrated to
yeah.
me
it was
inland,
making a difference. I was
usually
using
think
less
about the climate.
energy.
See that
And
happen,
closing the
those
shutters,
different
it doesn't cost you
geographies.
anything.
Right.
Just at
Mm.
night before you go to bed,
yeah.
close the shutters
Inland,
because
that
usually think about the
really
climate.
intense
See that happen,
sun
in
in
the
the
morning,
morning,
or if you're going to be
Right.
away for the day on a
So,
Saturday,
yeah.
you're
out all day,
inland.
close the shutters.
Usually think
It
about the
showed up
climate.
on my
See
energy
that
bill.
happen,
Those different geographies.
Right.
and then
Mm.
I'll just
So,
mention a couple
yeah.
others,
inland,
and then we can come back
usually
to some. Think about the climate. See that
Recycling
happen,
everything.
I take my plastic
Right.
grocery
Mm.
bags,
So,
I take them back to
yeah.
the grocery
inland,
store. Usually
recycle
think about the
everything I
climate.
can.
See that happen.
There's some
but
things
different
in
geographies. My city that
Right.
I can't
Mm.
recycle.
So,
yeah.
The plastic
inland,
takeout. Usually think about the climate. See
recycling.
that happen.
But there's
those
a
different
program in Charlotte
geographies.
called Envision
Right.
Charlotte.
Mm.
So,
where,
yeah.
like
inland,
drive over there. Then
usually
usually
think
think
about
about
the
the
climate.
climate.
See
See
that
that
happen,
happen,
but
but
different
they
geographies.
take the
Right.
plastics from
Where
takeouts.
you
Like drive over
and
there.
they
Then
melt
I always
it
wonder
down
by the
and
time I
make
drive
personal
over there how
protective
much am I
equipment.
saving. But
So
Right.
it's they've turned
where
they've got
you have
a
to like drive
partnership
over
where
there.
they
Then I always
recycle
wonder
all
by
that
the time I
into
drive over there how much
PPE,
am I
which are
saving.
personal
But
protective equipment for the medical
Right.
field.
where
So
you
just
have to like
yeah,
drive
really
over
being
there. Then I always
conscious.
wonder
It
by
takes
the time I
time.
drive
That's
over
the
there
thing.
how much am I
Sometimes you feel
saving.
like,
But
oh, this is a hassle,
just-
and my little bit
Right.
of recycling doesn't make any
where
difference.
you have to like
But
drive
if
over
everybody
there.
does
Then I
it,
always
it
wonder
adds
by the
up.
time I drive
So
over
those
there
are a
how
few
much am I
ideas. If
saving.
we have
But
time, I can
they
mention
just-
a few others,
Right.
but those are things everyone
where
can
you
do.
have to like drive over
Yes.
there. Then I always wonder
Yes.
by the time
Uh,
I drive over there how much am I saving.
Joanna, I'm gonna
They
let you
just-
go real quick.
But
I'm gonna let you go real quick. I just want to pick
like
off what
drive
you
over
said,
there.
Lori.
Then I always wonder by the
All
time I
right,
drive
so
over there how
only
much am I
just a
saving.
good,
But
quick transition
just-
with that because I think it was just perfect timing with you saying
where
that.
you have to like drive over there.
My
Then I always
mom's
wonder by the
apartment
time I
complex.
drive over there how much am I
Oddly
saving.
enough,
But
they don't have
they just-
recycle bins. Right. It's
Like,
the it's the
where
it's
you have
it's
to
the
like
odd.
drive over.
I
Then
don't.
I
They
always
have
wonder
trash
by the
cans.
time
They
I
don't have
drive
any
over there how much
recycling
am I saving.
areas.
But they just
That I realized with us doing this,
where
it
you
just
have to like drive over there. Then I
duh.
always
Why
wonder
don't
by
I
the time
start
drive
an
over there
initiative
how much am I
project
saving. But
putting
they
stuff
just-
working? I'm gonna update you all, but putting
where you have
some
to like
cans
drive
out,
over there. Then I
have
always
these
wonder by the
to
time
have
I
it
drive
air.
over there how much
Know
am
they
I
can put their
saving.
recyclables
They just
with some people that we can
where
take
you have
these
to
and
like drive over there.
take them out.
Then I
But
always
you
wonder by the
just
time
you
I
know
drive over there how much
said
am I
that comment
saving.
right
But
there about
they
what's
just-
my recycling going to do,
but
and then you
where you have
realize
to like drive
how
over
much
there. Then I always
stuff
wonder
builds
by the time I
up.
drive
So
over there how much am I saving.
I just wanted
But
to pick off
they
that.
just
Right.
where
Yeah,
you have
it's
to,
so
like,
true.
drive over
Like
there.
what we
Then I
said
always
last
wonder by the
time,
time I
it's
drive
what
over
does
there
my
how much am I saving.
recycling
But
do?
they just-
Says
Right.
8 billion
Right.
people.
where
So it
you
adds
have to,
up.
like
So
drive
if
over
everyone
there.
does
Then I
their
always
best,
wonder
it
by
does
the
make a
time I
difference.
drive over there how much am I saving. But
Yeah, and maybe get
they
one more
just-
Sorry,
person.
I
Right.
yeah, where you have to like drive over there. Then I always wonder.
Joanna,
by the
what
time
did you-
I
what
drive
did-
No, I
over
just
there,
wanted to
how
say
much
sorry, I
am
interrupted
They
you,
just-
so you go.
Right. No. Well, so far
Where
as your
you have
area
to,
and
like,
your
drive over
space,
there. Then I always wonder
you
by the
know,
time I
Planet
drive over there,
Banana
how much am I saving.
has
But
a host
they
of
just-
different projects. So what's a few
where
projects
you
that
have to, like drive
either
over there.
started
Then I always
or
wonder
are
by
in
the
the
time I
process
drive
of
over
that you
there
can
how much
inspire
am I
others
saving.
to
But
kind of start
they
on?
just-
Right.
Yeah,
Where
I
you
wanted
have
to
to,
talk
like, drive
about
over there.
something
Then I always
Laurie
wonder by the
mentioned as
time I
well,
drive over there how
with
much am I saving.
recycling, just waste
they just-
management in general, because
Right.
it like touches
Where
so
you
many
have to,
other
like,
parts
drive
as well.
over there. Then I always wonder by the
Because
time
before
drive over
I
there, how much am I
kind of
saving.
went
But
on the
they
sustainability
just-
journey and started
Right.
looking into
Right.
how things work
where
and all of
you
that,
have to, like,
I
drive
assumed
over there. Then I always wonder by the
everything
time
I throw
drive
away
over
and
there,
I
how much am
recycle
saving.
gets
But
sorted it
they
with,
just-
right? You
Right.
throw it
Where
away
you
and
have
then,
to, like,
you
drive
know,
over
all
there.
you can
Then I
do
always
really
wonder
is
by the
hope
time
I'm
I
doing the
drive
right
over there,
thing,
how
and I'm
much am
just
I
hoping
saving.
it
But
goes to the right,
they just-
Right.
channels.
But
However,
where you have to,
it
like,
turns
drive
out
over
that
there.
a
Then I
lot of, I
always
mean, I
wonder
know
by
a
the
lot
time
of
I drive
European
over there,
countries,
how
I
much
don't know
am
how
I
it is in
saving.
the
But
US, but a lot of
they just-
European countries,
Right.
they
Right.
ship their
where you have to,
recycled
like drive drive over
recycled
there, they always
waste
wonder by the time I
to the
drive
global
over
south
there, how much am I
and just
saving?
let them deal with it.
Right.
So I would say like the first step you can do
like,
is
drive
just
over
cut
there,
down
they
on your
always wonder
plastic
by the time I
usage.
drive
Like
over
you
there,
don't
how
need
much
to
am I
become
saving? But
zero waste
they
or you know that Instagram
where,
trend. It's
like,
not
drive
about
over there,
being
they always
perfect,
wonder
but it's
by
just
the time
about
I
cutting
drive
down.
over
And
there, how much am I saving?
one way you can do
they
that
just
is just by buying in bulk, or going
where
to
you
local
have to
farmers
like
markets
drive over
and
there.
just
They
buying
always
these things
wonder
that
by
are
the
not
time I
packaged,
drive over there how much am I saving?
just to have not that much
They
plastic
Right.
waste in the first place.
where you have to
And then
like
the other
drive
thing
over
is
there. They always
food
wonder by
waste
the
as
time I
well.
drive
I
over
think
there how
we've
much am I
spoken
saving?
about
But
it before in
they
another
just
episode,
Right.
just how massive of an issue
where
it
you
is.
have
Like
to
if
like
it
drive
was
over there.
a
They
country
always
in
wonder
terms
by
of
the time I
emissions,
drive
it would be
over
the
there how
third
much am I saving?
biggest
But they just
waste,
Right.
like emission,
where
like if it was
they always
producer.
wonder by the time I drive
So
over
yes,
there how
just
much am I
looking at
saving?
your
But
food waste
they
and
just
pre-planning
Right.
your meals and just making sure
where
that you don't
like
throw away
if it
these
was
things.
they always wonder by the time I
So
and
then
yes,
a third
just
thing,
looking
which kind of combines the two, is
they just
composting.
Right.
So again, I don't know how it is in the
where
US, but
like
if
in the
it
UK,
was
actually really difficult to compost
so yes,
because
just
it
looking
depends
on where you live,
they just
Right.
whether your food waste
where
will get picked
like
up
if
or
it
not.
was
So for example, I live in an area now where they don't,
because it
so I have
depends,
to actually
but
put it in my general
they just
waste, which is
Right.
really bad.
where
I'm going
like
to
if it
make
was
my own compost soon. To compost,
but yeah,
because
but
again,
depends,
one
but
thing you can do is
they
take
just
initiative. I
Right.
called my council and I
where
told them I would like
if it
to,
was
compost my food waste, and now
but
we're
yeah,
on
but
a waste
again,
list.
but
So we'll see
they
how
just
quickly that
Right.
goes. But
where
yeah, so those
like,
are
if
a
it
few
was
things you can do just for waste management. But yeah, but again,
but yeah,
They
and
just-
just talk
Right.
about reducing
where,
your
if it was,
use of plastics. Water bottles are one of the biggest. Yeah, and just
use
talk
of
about
plastics,
just
where
constantly having
like
these
if
water
it was,
bottles that get thrown away. You see them all over the beaches. I feel like a lot of
and
just
just
talk about
use of
where,
water bottles.
like if it
people
was,
now have just reusable bottles and things like that, but.
That's
Yeah,
a
and
huge one.
just talk about
people go out and will
where,
get
like
a
if it
pack
was,
of 24 or 36 water bottles to bring home and just go through them. Yeah,
constantly.
and just talk about.
And, I mean, it is
where
easier
we'll get,
sometimes.
like if
but
it was,
yeah, that's just sort of like a small
For
36
effort.
water bottle, not to pollute and not to create all this waste. Instead of just
and just talk about
you just have
where
filtered water
out
at
and
home
we'll
if
get,
you really
like,
want it filtered.
like
Just
if it
install
was
a water filter.
Right.
And just
For
use your water out of the
water
sink, with the water filter,
Exactly.
not to.
Wow.
It should
Yeah.
change the mindset.
It does. That's,
And
that's
just talk about
the key. It changes the
where we'll
mindset.
get, like
like
Uh,
if it was,
Joanna, I want to make sure I heard you right.
36
Do
water
you have a separate? Is there a
not
for
to
food waste?
there should be.
Yeah,
With,
and,
like
just
not
talk
every
about,
part has one,
where
but
out
yeah,
we'll
you
get,
shouldn't really
like,
throw
if it
food
was
waste in with other stuff because it
for
creates
36
methane.
water
So it's
Yeah.
really bad.
not to
So you all
Yeah.
have certain areas a separate. There's a separate truck,
Yeah,
or there's
and,
a separate
just talk
pickup
about,
that just only for your
where
food waste in
out
certain
we'll get,
areas.
Like if it was in certain areas, exactly.
for
Okay.
36
Okay.
water
Wow.
Or
That's
if you have a garden,
to-
I know a lot of people just do it in their gardens and compost themselves.
right, but I
Yeah,
think
and, just
that was
talk
something
about,
very progressive that
where
we don't
out
we
we'll
don't
get,
have in, well, at least
like
my
if
area,
it
we don't
was-
have a separate pickup of food waste.
for 36
So
water bottles.
I think
Oh, okay.
the
not
fact that you
to-
have it in certain areas, I think is major.
Oh, really? I
Yeah,
thought we're
and,
behind.
just talk about
No,
where
California
we'll
has
get, like,
it.
like, if
most
it was-
places in the U.S. don't have for
Pickup
36
Oh,
water
wow.
bottles.
Okay.
Not to.
Yeah.
You know that 30% of all food grown in the world.
Yeah,
is
and,
wasted?
just talk about
30% where out and we'll get like
So
you know,
like if it and then was we've got people starving, It's
for
like
36 water bottles.
So let me ask you,
Not to.
and that's a good transition to it. This wasn't the food
yeah,
episode,
and just
but
talk about
it deals with
where out
restoration.
and we'll get like
like
You're-
if it was,
you have in certain areas you have a
For
pickup
36
for
water
the food waste. Over here we
Not
really
to-
don't, right? Composting is a big thing. How would you suggest one
yeah,
to do
and just talk
composting?
about
Because there's certain
where out and we'll
ranges
get,
and
like,
levels that you can
like
go
if
about
it
it.
was,
Is it something that you can decide your
for
own?
36
You know,
water bottles.
something that has to only be
Not
outside.
to.
it actually, we don't have a garden, so
Yeah,
I've
and,
been starting
just
to
talk
look into
about,
how I can compost.
Where out and we'll
And
get, like,
it sounds
like
a little
if it
bit
was
weird, but you can easily do that with
for
a
36
worm
water bottles.
compost. So you
Not
just
to-
get the worms to turn your waste into compost for you.
Yeah,
I
and,
think
just
that's
talk
the only
about,
way to do it indoors,
where
really.
out
Otherwise,
we'll
it will
get,
take too long,
like,
and
if
if
you
it
just
was
have
in a flat, it would just start
for
smelling.
36
So,
water bottles.
Well,
so,
yeah,
yeah, I think that for indoors.
Not to. Yeah, I'll be honest. I tried composting. I even got a compost. Yeah, and,
bin
just talk
outside, but
about
you have to like water
where
it,
out
and you
we'll
also
get,
need
like,
to turn
It's
it.
like if it
so
was,
honestly, I think for 36
Just
not wasting food to begin with
Not
is
to-
the simplest way to go. And it's just a
Yeah.
matter of and
eating
just
what's
talk
in
about,
your refrigerator, using it
where
up
you
before,
out
instead
will
of,
get like
before it goes
like,
bad.
Like if it was
and just being just
for
being
36
intentional
water
that we're gonna eat what's in the refrigerator.
to-
We're not gonna waste it. We're not gonna wait till it goes bad and we have to throw it out. We're not gonna and
just
sometimes
talk about,
you can buy so much more
we'll
food than
get,
you
like,
could possibly
like,
eat
if it was-
before it goes bad. So it's just
for
that
36 water
being intentional about it and
Not
thinking,
to-
wait a minute. I really just need to be buying for the next 3 or 4 days.
Right.
Just talk about.
But that means,
that
we're
more trips to the
out,
grocery
we'll get,
store,
like,
so everything's
like,
a
if
little
it
bit
was
of a sacrifice.
So
for
in your
36 water
in being in your position, Lori,
to-
do you see on
I
more
really just
than
need to be buying for the next 3 or 4
let's
days.
remove the visual
Right.
on,
that
on a
means,
more
that it's
business
more trips
scale?
to the grocery store, so
Are you
everything's a
seeing more
little bit
companies
of a
focus on
sacrifice.
LED lights, right? So in
that
your
example,
in being in
are
your
you
position
seeing in a
Lori,
circle
do you
where,
electricity
I
is
really
being
just need to be
spoken of,
buying for the next 3 or 4
certain
days.
changes
Right.
because we're right here with
But
Duke
that means,
Energy.
that it's more
Are we
trips to
see,
the grocery store, so
can
everything's
you
a
update us
little
on a
bit
kind
of
of a surge that's maybe
sacrifice.
happening with that? So in your
just
in
at a very
being
high
in your
level,
position, Lori, do you
absolutely. I really just need to
In
be
fact,
buying
I
for the
would
next
say
3 or
that
4 days.
maybe 10 years
Right.
ago, companies
But that
were,
means, that
all
it's more
over
trips to the
energy
grocery store, so
efficiency,
everything's a
and
little
it was,
bit of a
the focus was
sacrifice.
on cost savings.
So in your
But
in
most
being in your
businesses at
position,
this
Lori,
point
do
have
you
implemented all that stuff.
No,
I really just need to be buying.
most
for the next 3 or
businesses
4
have
days.
adopted,
Right.
just for the
But
cost
that
savings
means,
alone.
that it's
More
much
trips to the
less,
grocery store, so everything's a
what their
little bit of
employees
a
expect.
sacrifice. Employees just
so
expect that
in
you're
your
going to be
in
modern,
being in your
which
position,
means
Lori,
having
do you
LED light bulbs. And I really just need to be
cost and
buying for the next
availability,
3
the
or
costs
4
has
days.
come down a lot.
right?
So a lot of
But
those
that means,
things are
that
pretty
it's more trips to
mainstream
the
at
grocery
this
store,
point,
so
and
everything's a
businesses
little
are now
bit of a
looking at what's
sacrifice.
next.
So
I've
in
tightened
your
up my building
in
as
being
much
in
as
your
possible.
position,
And
Lori,
one
do
of
you
the
best
I
practices.
really just need to be
for
buying for the
this
next
kind
3
of
or 4
building
days.
management is
right?
You want to
But
get as
that means,
efficient
that's
as more trips to the
possible.
grocery store, so everything's a
Then
little
look at
bit of a
renewable energy.
sacrifice. Because you don't
So
want to go out
in
and buy
your
more renewable
in
energy
being
than you
in your
really
position,
need.
Lori, do you
So you kind of like reduce. I really just need to be buying for the next
reduce
3
your
or 4
energy
days
usage as much
Right.
as possible.
But that
Things
means,
like,
that it's more trips to the grocery store, so everything's a
well,
little bit
automatic
of a sacrifice.
thermostats also make a
so
huge difference
in your
that are
in being
monitoring
in your position, Lori,
how
do
you
you
set your thermostat. Things
No,
like
I
that.
really just need to
There's
be
all
buying
kinds
for
of
the
like
next
sort
3 or
of
4
low-hanging
days.
fruit,
Right.
insulation.
But that means, that it's
duct
more
work
trips to
where
the
you just
grocery
kinda
store,
go
so
through and make
everything's
sure
a
everything
little
is
bit of a
sealed
sacrifice.
so that your air
so
conditioning
in
or
your
heating isn't
in
leaking.
being in your
These are
position,
basic
Lori, do
things
you
that most businesses
I really just need to be
have,
buying for the
are
next
pretty
3 or
much
4
on top
days.
of. I
right?
mean, there's still
But that means,
companies that are
it's
out
more trips to the
promoting
grocery
this
store, so
and
everything's a
trying to,
little bit of a sacrifice.
continue to sell it.
So
But you do
in
as
your
much of that as
in
possible.
being
You
in your
reduce your
position,
energy
Lori,
usage.
do you
Then start looking at.
I really
okay,
just
now
need to be
with
buying
what's
for the
left.
next
How
3
can
or
I
4
get
days.
renewable?
right?
How can I make it?
But that means,
How can I
that
work
it's
with
more
Duke
trips to the
Energy or
grocery
other
store, so everything's a
sources to make
little
most
bit
of
of a
what's coming in
sacrifice.
low
So
carbon?
in your in being in your position, Lori, do you that's key. That's key.
I really
Which
just
the
need to be
key
buying
word
for the
that
next 3 or 4
for me is
days.
obviously is make things cost
But that means,
efficient.
that
You
it's
know,
more trips to the grocery store,
and
so
when you said
everything's a
even the
little bit of a
shutters,
sacrifice.
that's one thing I
So,
learned early
in your
on.
in
is,
being in your position,
close the
Lori,
shutters,
do you
and it keeps the house cool.
I really just
Yeah,
need
it
to be
makes.
buying for
No,
the
it's
next 3 or
like
4 days.
you know what? Actually,
Right.
I have to give
But
Duke
that means,
Energy
that it's
a
more trips
credit.
to the
Duke
grocery
Energy
store,
is
so
the
everything's a
largest
little bit of a
utility in the United
sacrifice.
States, and
So
they send out
in
these
your
little
in being in your position,
tips. I
Lori,
think they
do
send them
you
every week. They're like 2 or 3 sentences.
I really just
a
need to be
little
buying for the next
bite.
3 or 4 days.
And
Right.
so I'll just read it.
But
'cause
that
it's
means,
so short,
that
and one
it's
of
more
them
trips to the grocery
suggested
store, so
shutting your
everything's a
blinds.
little bit of a sacrifice.
Nice.
So I thought, okay,
So
I can do
in
that.
your
So I started
in
shutting all
being
the
in your
blinds,
position, Lori,
and it made
do
a
you
huge difference. So
No,
the
I really
house
just
was
need to be
cool.
buying
I
for
was
the next
reducing
3 or 4
energy
days.
usage, so I was helping
Right.
the planet and
But
saving
that
myself
means,
money.
that it's more
And,
trips to the grocery store, so
this
everything's
is
a
what you're trying
little
to do
bit
right
of a
now is give people
sacrifice.
little ideas.
so
And that's
in
what
your
Duke did.
in being
They
in your
just, like,
position, Lori,
whoops,
do you
they constantly were sending.
No,
Sorry,
I
my
really
camera
just need to be
went.
buying
They
for the
were
next 3 or
constantly
4
sending
days.
out just a
Right.
few suggestions
But
and
that means,
ideas, and
that
it
it's
made
more
a
trips to the
difference.
grocery store, so
So
everything's a
the
little bit of a
communication and the
sacrifice.
desertification
So
is also
in
very
being in your
valuable.
position, Lori, do
Which is
you
what we're, which is what we're trying to.
I really just need
to
to be
do.
buying
There
for the
might
next
be
3 or 4 days.
one or two
Right.
things that a
But
few
that
people
means,
pick
that
up and
more
at
trips
every
to come, it
grocery
adds
store. So
up.
everything's a
It's
little
a big
bit of
problem.
a sacrifice.
Yeah.
That's what they say.
so
How do you eat
in
an
your
elephant?
in
One bite
being
at a
in your
time.
position,
It's a
Lori,
big
do you
problem. You have to chip away at it.
I really just need to be buying for the next
Yeah.
3 or 4 days.
Right.
Or big opportunity.
But that means,
let's
you
say
know,
that.
that
It's
is
a
more
big
trips to the
opportunity.
grocery store. So
It is.
everything's a little bit of a
Sounds nice.
sacrifice.
Big
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Okay,
being in your position, Lori,
we're speaking
do
on
you
opportunity.
No, I really just need to be
cost
buying for the
efficient
next
that
3 or
clicks
4
in my head,
days.
right?
Right.
Makes sense
But that
with
means,
LED.
you
I'm
know,
just
that's
use
more
LED
trips to the
lights
grocery
as
store.
the
So
example
everything's
there.
a little bit of a
You're
sacrifice.
even when you look in your being in your position, Lori, do you
Composting.
No, I really just need to be
I got
buying for the
tongue
next
tied.
3 or 4 days.
Even looking at that,
Right.
what is
But
the
that means, you know,
ultimate
that's
selling
more
point
trips
that
to
you
the
can
grocery
tell
store. So
someone that's
everything's
not
a little bit
that
of a
eats their food and
sacrifice.
says, "Well, I throw it in your being in your position,
someone
Lori,
it'll
do
go
you somewhere? You know, you
No,
spoke
I
on
really
that
just need to be
thing.
buying for the next 3
Can
or
you
4
go in a little bit
days.
more on why we
But
want to
that
be
means, you know,
more
that's more trips to the
aware of
grocery store.
how
So
we're
everything's a little bit of a
composing our food?
sacrifice.
So
Um,
in being in your
I feel like
position,
there's
Lori,
not
do
really
you
a great argument
No, I really just need
like
to be
Laurie
buying for the
had
next 3 or
behind
4
it,
days.
because it
Right.
really
But that means, you know, that's more trips to the
it
grocery
will
store.
only
So
be
everything's a
beneficial for
little
you
bit of a
personally once
sacrifice.
you know about the
so
process. It otherwise goes under.
being in your
So yeah,
position,
if
Lori,
you
do
don't
you
compost
a great
and you
argument,
throw away
like
lots of
like
food
Laurie had
mixed
behind
up with
it,
your
because
other
it
rubbish,
really, the food, like
it will only be beneficial
the way
for
the
you
chemistry
personally
works
once
is
you
that
know
it will
about the
create
process.
methane,
It
which
otherwise
contributes to
goes
global
under.
warming. So
position,
you're
Lori,
literally
do you
not where we're
Yeah,
saying
a
climate
great
change is
argument
global warming.
like Laurie had
So,
behind it,
so
because
basically,
it
just
really
by doing that, you
it
help,
will only be
reduce those
beneficial
levels.
personally once you know
In
about the
terms of
process.
cost
It otherwise
efficiency,
goes
like
under.
Laurie
position,
said, if
Lori,
we go
do you
step before
Yeah,
that
a
and you
great
just buy
argument
what you need,
like Laurie had behind
in
it,
order to
because
throw
it
away less
really
stuff, you're saving money. By
it
looking
will
at what
only
you
be
need per
beneficial
week,
for you personally
you
once
true.
you know
That's a
about
good
the
point, bro,
process.
with
It
things you pay
otherwise
for.
goes under.
position,
But you know,
Lori, do you
also,
Yeah, a great
about,
argument
when you're talking about
like
mixing
Laurie
the
had
food waste
behind
in
it,
with your other
because it
recycling,
really
it contaminates the recycling.
it will
And
only
one
be
of the
beneficial for
reasons,
you
so
personally once
sometimes
you
if
know about the
the
process.
batch
It
of
otherwise
recycling
goes
is too
under.
contaminated,
position,
they throw
Lori,
out the whole
do you
batch.
Yeah, a great
Which is a huge
argument
waste. Then it just
like
becomes
Laurie
nothing
had
but
behind it,
trash and
because
waste.
it really
And it reduces the
it will only
market
be
for
beneficial for you
recycling. So
personally
somebody
once
is
you know
buying
about the
all that,
process. It otherwise goes under.
plastic and
position,
paper
Lori,
and
do
whatever.
you
Somebody's
Yeah,
buying
a
it. They
great
think they can
argument
make money,
like Laurie
but
had
they
behind
think they
it,
can
because
offset the
it
cost.
really
When you think about it, there is a cost to transport
it
the
will only be
recycling.
beneficial
They
for
have
you
to send it
personally once
somewhere.
you know about the
Somebody's
process. It
spending
otherwise
money
goes
to
under.
recycle it
position,
into
Lori,
something.
do you
They
Yeah,
have to
a
feel like
great
they can make some
argument
money to
like
at
Laurie
least
had
offset
behind
that.
it, because
And
it
if it's
really
contaminated, they reject the
it
whole
will only
batch.
be beneficial
After a
for
while,
you
they're like,
personally
well, we can't
once
make
you
any
know
money on
about the
this.
process. It
And it will
otherwise
reduce
goes
the
under.
market for
position,
it. That's
Lori,
what's happening
do
in
you
China.
Yeah, a great
So much
argument
of the
like Laurie had behind it,
recycling they're
because
getting,
it really
like a lot of all over the world, since
it
their
will
trash
only
is
be
trying to be
beneficial for
recycled,
you
and they've said,
personally
you know what,
once you know about
this
the
is such a
process. It
mess.
otherwise
We
goes
can't make
under.
any money on
position,
it.
Lori, do you
Yeah, a great
That's
argument
another. I know that's
like
I
Laurie
didn't kind of
had
argue,
behind
but you
it,
think about it, if
because
you
it
want the
really
service of somebody picking up your recycling,
it will only
you
be
have to not
beneficial
have
for
it
you
so
personally
filthy.
once you
It
know
just
about the
can't be
process. It otherwise
muddled
goes
up with the
under.
food.
position, Lori,
It
do
can't be
you
muddled
Yeah,
up with a
a
lot of
great
other things that
argument
can't be recycled.
like
The
Laurie had
plastic
behind
bags
it,
from the grocery
because it
store.
really
They literally get into the
it will only
equipment
be
and
beneficial for
clog
you
up the
personally
equipment, and
once
like
you
a
know about the
person, a human
process. It
being, has
otherwise
to
goes under.
stop the
position, Lori,
recycling
do you
machine,
Yeah, a great
get up in
argument
there, pull it
like
out.
Laurie
It's
had behind it,
dangerous.
because it
I know,
really
it's like you don't think about, but
it
this
will
is what's
only be
happening.
beneficial
So
for you
that's why
personally once you know
you're
about
not
the
supposed to
process.
put
It
your plastic
otherwise goes
bags in
under.
with the
position,
recycling. They're
Lori,
your little
do you
thin plastic
Yeah,
bags.
a
They're
great
the right way
argument
to kind of fry
like
up the
Laurie had
machinery.
behind it, because
Yeah.
it
And this is where
really
people, now the problem, this is where people get
it will
discouraged.
only
They're like,
be
you know what, this is so
beneficial for you
complicated.
personally once you
Can't
know
do
about
this,
the
can't do
process.
that,
It
gotta
otherwise
wash it.
goes
Oh, this is
under.
just too
position, Lori,
complicated.
do you
Yeah, a
But
great
that's where
argument
you gotta decide,
like
are you
Laurie had
committed?
behind
This
it,
is one little
because
extra
it really
step. Are you committed? Do you care about this?
it will only be
And
beneficial for you personally once you
yeah,
know about the
that's just
process.
kind of
It otherwise
understanding.
goes under.
position,
There
Lori,
are
do you
people
Yeah,
behind the
a great
process.
argument like
Usually have
Laurie had
individuals that
behind
are
it, because
sorting it. there's individuals that are trying to make money on it so that there's a market for recycling.
Yeah.
You know,
One thing that really wasn't
go ahead.
wasn't like an aha moment for me was really when we always say we throw this away. Where is away? There's no away. It's going somewhere. Like, and I never really thought about it before that. Well, yeah, there's no away. They actually go somewhere and needs to be dealt with.
Yeah, that is a great point.
That, yeah, no, I had to go to my laptop right here just to type because I wanted to see, like, you were saying that about the plastic bag, and that's something that was new. So it just instantly thought, what are some best practices that we could take to compose of plastic bags? And
Take them to the grocery store. That's where they're recycled.
take them to the grocery store. That is that.
And take your own bag when you go shopping, so you don't need a plastic bag the next time.
Yeah.
Yes. Have your own bag and take it. Yes.
Yeah. You know, I've wanted forever to like take my own bag to the grocery store, and I used to put it in the car, but then I would always forget it. So I'd get up to the checkout counter. I'm like, I left my bag in the car. And if there was nobody behind me, I might run out and get it. But usually it'd be like, oh, forget it. So I just could not get myself in the habit of bringing my own bag to the grocery store. Then I lived in Scotland for a year. And in Scotland, they charge you 5 cents for a bag. And, 5 cents isn't going to break you, but it's just a little bit of a nudge, just enough to remind you. And, if you are all day long, all your grocery shopping, every time you go into a store to, buy makeup or whatever you're buying, you have to pay your 5 cents. So I finally got in the habit. And now I always have my bag. I just have a lightweight little bag in my purse.
Yeah.
And somehow,
so 1 second, is it still free in the States? You get your plastic bag with everything?
We're not allowed to charge. No, that's just considered completely onerous to impose a charge. That's just like total socialism to charge, 5 cents per bag. So no, we've still done nothing.
Wow.
But now some of the grocery stores are starting to announce that they're going to phase out plastic bags by 2025 or whatever. But some of that may have lost momentum during the pandemic. So some of them are announcing they're phasing it out. But I still don't see any groundswell of movement. And you go to the grocery store and they'll double bag everything. So I get home and with my little, bit of groceries, I've generated 6 plastic bags. And, even if I bring my bag, if you buy a lot, it can't all fit in the bag. But yeah, you just have to, but at least I have a place that I put them, I collect them, and the next time I go to the grocery store, I throw it in my car and I recycle all the plastic bags.
Wow.
But they have to be done, at least in the US, that has to be recycled at the grocery store. They have those big bins out in front, at least in front of the Harris Teeter, Publix does it. There's just a bin out there for recycling your plastics and your dry cleaner bags.
Yeah.
All that you can't put in the regular recycling with the city. It has to be taken to the grocery store. That's just our process. I'm sure there's a different process in the UK.
I know that big supermarkets also have these recycling points because, again, depending on where you live, you can't recycle certain things.
Yeah.
So yeah, similarly, I guess.
Yeah, I know. It's a little bit of effort. It's definitely not totally straightforward, but a lot of times people will say, well, the city should take care of this. But the reality is the city has to find a market for it. Mm-hmm. So even if the city takes care of it, in Charlotte, the recycling rate here is pathetic. It's like 10%. 10% of households recycle. And, if that's what you were talking about, Benny, in your, where your mom lives, that they're not set up for recycling.
Right.
So part of it is increasing adoption, and part of it is with what the city does collect, they have to find a market. What are they supposed to do with it? They have to find somebody to buy it and take it off their hands, at least enough to cover the cost of sending out a recycling truck.
It goes into, this is a perfect topic about the bags because we have 2 stores that I'm aware of, Lidl's and Aldi's, who are foreign stores in and now Lidl's, do they do it? I'm not sure, but I know Aldi. The only reason I brought both of them because they were founded by 2 the same partners that started Aldi. They got friends. Aldi, you pay for a cart, or you have to pay I think it's like 5 cents, maybe a quarter. A nickel to pay for a cart to use in the store. And it just makes me think about some of the marketing tactics that you make us shop more. You know, if you happen to come with your own bag, you are a little focused and a little bit more purposeful and intentional about what you're, versus you walk in with a cart, you just put things in the
Just loaded up.
just
Interesting.
right. So
That's interesting.
yeah, I think it's a great point to be more intentional how we purchase, because then that goes to how the excess that we have too.
Yeah. And you know, at some point you just sort of get into it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, well, of course, yeah, I'm just kind of into it. Like, okay, you just kind of get into the groove that every time I go to the grocery store, I take my recycling. But so before I walk in the grocery store, I dump the bags. Or sometimes, because I live fairly close to the grocery store, if I am going for a walk, I'll say, you know what, my walk today is going to be walking to the grocery store and recycling. You know, I just dump the recycling bags. So you just sort of have to like kind of get into it. And when I get too much of a pile of them, I'll go for a walk and take them over there. But you have to think that's fun.
True.
Other people might have better things to do with their time. But anyway, you just have to figure out where it fits into your life.
That's the catch. That's the catch. So as we round it out, let me ask you then, speaking on fun, how have you found fun in you know, your own personal, as we move forward in these conversations? Our theme is ecosystem restoration. How are you finding fun? Because we do want to, we're having these conversations, and some may say it's not sexy, though there is something sexy about having clean air and living fresh and being able to live clean. So how are you finding fun? If you can, just whoever, you know, John, how are you finding fun?
I think it goes back to what we talked about before. What are you passionate about? I'm just passionate about nature, about protecting it. And because I'm passionate about it, I do everything I can to preserve it, to restore it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Find your passion and find a way to protect it.
And I think, yeah, exactly. Like one of the things I try to remind myself is that you have to get out in nature to remember what it is you're trying to preserve. If you never put yourself in nature, it's easy for it to be this distant thing, like something you're just reading about. And so go on a hike or go see the iguanas or really pay attention to the birds or whatever is accessible, to remind yourself this is what it's all about, because otherwise it can just feel kind of onerous. But then when you feel like you're like, you know, mano a mano with the birds or whatever, you're passionate, or the ocean, the water, you know, then that's where you get the heart connection. This is what I love. This is what I'm trying to protect.
Right. And that's a big connection. I think that connection, I think that's a perfect way to put a nail on it, is having a heart connection to what we're doing, because it shows that you love yourself, love the environment too. So I love the fact that you both were able to provide that. Thank you for being able to provide things that you've been doing, continuing to do, and maybe some new things too that you're working on as well. Just with your personal brands, is there anything new happening with Collins Climate and Planet Banana?
You go first.
Oh, actually, one thing, I'll just throw this out because I was excited. So there's an organization here called Jules Accelerator, and it's all about finding innovative clean energy companies and energy efficiency companies and supporting them, helping them get customers. And I've been involved with it for quite a while. And last week they got $1 million from the Department of Energy. Nice. So I was really excited about that. And they bring in companies, they bring in new technology companies from all over the world, Germany, Australia, I mean, just all over the world, wherever they find the best ideas, and they bring them to Charlotte. So, well, a lot of it is virtual. They try to connect with the customers and, you know, get them off the ground. So $1 million from the Department of Energy.
That helps.
That helps.
Awesome.
Yes. Oh, what about you?
From my side, I guess, you know, in July, there's a huge thing on Instagram, which is called Plastic Free July. So I'll be sharing loads of similar tips, you know, how to reduce your own plastic intake and what you can do in your own life. So yeah, just stay positive.
Okay, so Plastic Free July happening on your Instagram, Plant Banana, and also Jules Accelerator. $1 million. We need more millions, so I'm gonna put it into the atmosphere.
Well, you know what? That idea of having an accelerator almost didn't get off the ground. And so, you know, every stage, I kind of pushed for it to get off the ground back in 2013. And we kind of got it going. And then when I went to Scotland, somebody else took over, and he's done an amazing job with it. But, you know, everybody plays their role. I mean, he's done a great job growing it, and my role was kind of helping getting it going.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you just have to be conscious that everybody can play a part, and everybody can help move things forward. And then it's almost like a relay race. You do your part, whatever your skills are, whatever your timing is, that's where you can contribute, and then you pass it off. The next person might have better skills. You know, the person that took over after me has really grown it. And so it's like a relay race, and you just take it as far as you can, and then you pass it to the next person.
I want to speak on the next time we talk, because what you spoke is actually transition, but it's a more direct transition. I want to speak on how to discover our skills, or how to use our skills. And we've touched on the surface level, but I want to kind of dive a little bit more things that we're actually doing, and how skill sets have been able to activate ecosystem restoration. Whether whether it's been starting an accelerator, and what that kind of, and what did that image first look like in your mind, and then same thing with you, Joanna, with what kind of skill sets did you really see to best benefit Planet Banana, and what skill sets did it really take to make the message something that could be relatable to people, and how, even like for me to find you, what was something that you found in yourself that you were able to do. So today was it felt real cool because you all are pros.
Well, Laurie's a bit much bigger pro than me, but yeah.
No, we're having fun. We're passionate. We're both very passionate.
We are, yeah, true.